Good day, everyone, and welcome to Different Stages Radio. I'm your host, JJ, broadcasting in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And my guest today, you know him from Solstice, My Dying Bride, Vallenfyre, and of course, Godthrymm, who are about to release the third part of their Visions trilogy with the album Projections on May the 29th on Profound Lore Records. Please welcome my guest, Hamish Glencross. How are you?
Oh, JJ, thank you so very much. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, and thank you so much for inviting me to talk about the album. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you making the time. And this, I think there was something meant to be with all of this lining up. And I'm not going to pretend anything here. I've seen the name around for a few years now, and I've been meaning to take the proper time because that's how I am with music. If people are recommending things to me or I make a note to self, I don't just want to throw something on. I want to have a moment to absorb this. So when there was the interview opportunity that arrived last week, along with a copy of the album, and I'm like, I've been putting this off and putting it off. I'm like, okay, buckle down, dive in. And immediately I was floored.
Oh,
Completely floored. And I'm like, no, I need to get on this now. So here we are today talking. So I'm a newbie, but I'm blown away. And I would like to know a bit more about the backstory of Godthrymm and how originally that came to be, because I imagine that was post Vallenfyre, correct?
oh well, so it started kind of during Vallenfyre. So whilst doing the Decibel tour and out touring as part of that touring package with At the Gates, Converge, and Pallbearer and ourselves. It was, it was fantastic. It was really enjoying my time in Vallenfyre, doing, some more mix of a crusty death metal kind of thing mixed with, the more death doom kind of elements, and it was a lot of fun. Really loved doing that. Had great shows and really enjoyed working with Greg and the albums that we recorded. But whilst doing that tour as well, I was just blown away by Pallbearer and loved spending time with them. And that really was a bit of an impetus to kind of really reconnect with the style of music that was kind of my first kind of, love and passion. And so they were would ask me about the all bands and various albums, and so I would happily talk about that. And then when I came back from that particular tour, spoke to some my old friends and said, it'd be cool just to jam some of these kind of old style of music again and just enjoy playing that. So the band Godthrymm at first was just very much a vehicle to really reconnect with that style of music, the epic doom and the stuff that we were so passionate about back in the kind of early 90s and well, throughout the 90s and beyond. And as soon as we were jamming, that turned into songs and then wanted to record. And at first it was very much looking to the past, but as we progressed, it was very keen to kind of bring in more influence and just kind of really develop and evolve as a band. And as we've gone forward, we're at a point now where we're very much looking forward. The progression and evolution of the band has really been a lot more further reaching than the initial template of kind of doom, darkness, and sorrow, which is very much represented still within the band. But there's just a lot more to the sonic palette than there ever was before. We push things further. The contrasts turned right up. The light is brighter and the dark's more cosmic. So we just try and cover, just everything that kind of makes our souls sing musically.
And I think that's what pulled me in right away was the mood and the authenticity of it. And with all those hills and valleys, it just, how could I ignore this? Just the feel and that it was, like I said, authentic. Now, when I was first spinning the record and then finding out more about the backstory, once again, how it's the third part of the trilogy, Reflections came out in 2020, Distortions in 2023. So myself, I need to go back and fill in those gaps. But when you were putting these three pieces together, did you have the idea when you started with Reflections, or did the music and lyrics ideas come along as you went? Like, how did that process come together?
I pretty much began with the completion of each album before. So Reflections, whilst myself and Shaun in particular very much wanted to kind of hark back to the old kind of sounds and influences of before. So it was quite unashamed love letters to the old kind of scene. So we'd have a song like on the Exalted, where would even we wouldn't shy away from the influences, and there's a strong Paradise Lost kind of vibe in there. Fine, okay, that's all right. And we, even when recording the vocals for that, would say, okay, let's try and do a Nick Holmes old style of vocal on there. And so, we felt really quite, free to just wear our heart on our sleeve with that one. But upon completing the album, as we kind of went on with it, um, it was clear that we wanted to do something different in the future. And so already the idea at that point was talking about where we'd record differently, how we'd record differently, and what else we would incorporate into the music. So hence bridge the gap with like a single and an EP, just to try something different, and kind of testing the waters out before then taking the plunge into distortions, where we're really mixing things up a lot more, and really just kind of pushing the sonic kind of extremes in terms of really upping the production values massively. And then as that album's completed as well, because each time we're doing this is it's a very furtive, creative kind of time, and just thinking, okay, well, what can we do next? How are we moving forward? Some ideas that you think, all right, we'll save that for future. Let's not try and shoehorn everything in and think, okay, well, that could be a cool idea of where we want to go next. So even at the completion of Distortions, we were then thinking, right, well, we want to push things even further again. And then, yeah, we can go faster, we can go softer, we can go heavier, we can go darker. I mean, really, the brighter a light, you can see the kind of darker the shadow. You need the contrast to know, really feel the difference. So each time around, it's very much being inspired by what we've just done before, and having the kind of inspiration and an aspiration to keep moving, to keep evolving and moving forward as a band. Which, considering its inception as being very much something that was looking to the past, it is very much looking to the future now.
While expanding your sound and bringing in some guest stars as well to add more color and flavor. So yeah, with the opening track, Trenches Deep, can you talk about that and some people that appear? We got some names.
Absolutely. So with that song, that was one of the first songs that was written for the album, and when when we started that writing process, we were just jamming out ideas in the rehearsal room, and initially just kind of thought, okay, well, let's break things up against all the slow, heavy doom we were doing. Let's just blow off some steam and do something faster, more aggressive, and in doing so, we just absolutely loved doing it, recording everything, recording all ideas to go through later, and just thought, well, that's passionate, it's authentic, it's what we want to do. So why not do it? Yes, it's a departure, but it's us doing the departure. So let's just throw ourselves fully into it. And then whilst we're at it, whilst we are doing it, invite a couple of friends for extra guest vocals in there too. So hence we've got Jay Walsh from Zentrix and AD Bailey, who's in the English Dogs. And so it just, again, having our friends together and just adds an extra bit of authenticity to this style of music, where we've just kind of gone off on a bit of a tangent. And why not? If we're going for it, let's just go in both feet. Let's just throw ourselves totally into it. So those guys come and join us, and again, it's just a good, bold opener to the album. Really, it just comes in heavy and a real statement of intent that, yeah, we are absolutely moving things around this time around.
Well, and that's what sucked me in, and it led perfectly into Truth in my own track too. But I have to say, The Sun Never Fell 3. So you made reference earlier to, the classic UK doom, doing some trying to do some Nick Holmes Paradise Lost vibes. But I found this bit of America vibe here. I found a little bit of a Jerry Cantrell, Alice in Chains kind of
Yeah.
deal. Are you a fan? Was that by accident or?
So yeah, huge fan of Alice in Chains, Jerry Cantrell, what a master. And always loved Alice in Chains, and it was kind of funny. It was not an influence that we directly had in mind at first, but with reviews on the previous album, it got mentioned a few times over, referencing Alice in Chains, and it was interesting because we didn't really have it in mind, but then going back and listening was like, oh yeah, I can absolutely see that. So I mean, they we're creating amazing music from, some kind of dark and twisted places, really. With just fantastic use of harmony vocals in there too. So, what an incredible template. And as far as reference points goes, and well, that's a very good one. Well, we're very honored to take that one. So yeah.
Well, once again, just love that space and just letting things percolate and build and anticipation. That just sucks, at least me, right in. It's like I'm waiting, waiting, but it's like just wait. It doesn't have
Just
to be
wait, yeah.
immediate. Just wait. It's coming. Just wait.
Create a mood and
Yeah.
then just kind of fester in it for a bit, and then yeah, okay, yeah, we'll get to we'll get to the headbang in a minute. So yeah.
And then jumping to bed, jumping ahead, Endure My Skin was great. But then Jules, and it's funny because for me, I'm just hearing this last week. And then just yesterday, was it that Jules is released as the new single? I'm like, because in my head, I'm thinking this should be one of the songs. Well, they're all
Oh,
great songs.
cool.
But Jules, I'm like, what's going on here? And once
So
again, your wife Catherine just kills on the record. She
uh,
I think deserves honorable mentions. Would you say?
oh, absolutely. It just, as she's kind of grown in experience, the confidence has just grown so much as well. So, whereas, I think she's always turned in amazing performances beforehand. Performances on Distortions are amazing, and she's got, some good spotlights on there. But you could really hear a difference this time round. Again, with this just additional confidence to have brought more ideas, and she herself wanted to have a bit more variation in her vocals too this time around. She wanted to push things a bit further. So with Jules all the way through on that song musically, we knew it was different, and then just gave her the song musically and just free reign and just like just do what you want over here. And she's alternating between these more kind of fragile, delicate vocals and then just absolutely wanting to belt it out. So the ethereal vocals and harmony layers that she does so very, very well, she continues to do incredibly. But yeah, when she really goes for much more of a classic rock kind of angle, that's a departure, and it sounds amazing for it. So when yeah, we were looking at getting another song out there, this just kind of really conveys the the huge kind of wealth of different songs, tones, and styles within the album. Whilst I still think is trying to got a bit of a cohesive kind of bloodline that runs through. So it's it's all us, but it is certainly looking to the extremes. It's a bit more of an eclectic mix than what we'd kind of done beforehand. But I think it's ultimately the more rewarding for it as well.
When you talk about the bloodline, so of course you and Shaun, for people that don't know, and then you got Aaron. So what's going on now?
So just amazing. Me and Shaun have been playing in bands together on and off for probably about 30 years now, really. And, such an amazing history with, the work we've done with the amazing My Dying Bride in the past. And so with that history and working together, at times there'll be certain parts where we just, could almost kind of, hear a voice on the wind and just know that, well, you know exactly what Aaron would sound like on this song, don't you? Yeah, we do. And then, he's such a dear friend, and so when he comes and does guest spot like this, it's just it's amazing because it's just an opportunity to spend some time with an old friend, do something creative together. And he's got such an amazing voice that when we know we've got a song that would just be absolutely lifted by an appearance from him, it's just great to have the opportunity to do that. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Everything's lining up nicely. And then, of course, the last track, which we're touching on, is "Hope Is Eternal," which is a great album closer. Which just like there's not a stale moment on this record. Like it's a thick, dense. Like I said, just floored. That's why I needed to speak and get more information and understand it better.
Well, thank you. It's Hope is Eternal is a heavy going song. I mean, thematically, lyrically, Bob wrote the lyrics for that one, and it's come from kind of a dark place, and so it's one that we wanted to do real justice to, and so musically, it's heavy, it's fast, it's got a lot kind of going in there. So to then have the counterpoint of being Catherine's lead vocals on there, and with some interweaving harmonies, musically it's quite a dense track. It's a heavy song in every sense of the word. Lyrically, sonically, and just it's fast, it's pounding, kind of heavy going, and it's an intense closing song. I'm so glad that we brought more kind of range and pace to the album as well. So the double bass drums coming in are scattered throughout the album is just a real kind of break of pace. And there are the longer and slower doom sections and songs in there too, but there's fury and there's aggression in there as well. And I remember one reviewer at one point then, they described listening to us at times as like kind of going through, having an evening with us and spending some time listening to some of our favorite albums. And yeah, I can kind of, get behind that as well. Because that's it, you don't just necessarily listen to one thing all the time. And, our emotions cover such, a wide range as well. And we kind of like to convey that throughout the music. So it's gonna have peaks and troughs and ups and downs.
As it should. Now, before we get wrapping things up here, you got a big album release show coming up on June the 6th. How about we pimp that? Give us some
Oh,
details.
thank you. That's going to be at the Brudenell Social Club in Leeds, which is a wonderful venue. We played there a handful of times beforehand. We played there with our dear friends in Pallbearer, played there with Witch Sorrow. We did our last album launch show there, which was amazing. And so we're returning there for the album launch show in conjunction with Crash Records, who are doing ticket bundles for it. And we've got some guest vocalists joining us that night as well. Aaron's going to join us to do Endure My Skin the way it should be. I know Adi Bailey's going to look to join us to do Trenches Deep. And we've also got Annabelle from the band Hemlock, who are going to be opening the show as well. They're a symphonic metal band, and she's a wonderful singer. So getting her to join Catherine so the vocal harmonies can be done in the fullness. So we're just wanting to kind of throw everything at this and just do the songs live in the best way that they can be represented. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Well, I'm equal parts excited and nervous as well. So it's something we take very, very seriously. And gosh, it's going to be special.
And where can people get tickets?
So tickets are available from Crash Records. So Crash Records, .co.uk, and they're on gigs, and there's a section for concerts, album launches, in-store appearances, and things like that. So available from there and on the night.
And where can we send people to buy Godthrymm projections and previous albums and merch? Where should we send people?
Bandcamp, Profound Law Records, and we've got link trees associated to our own websites, godthrymm.com and Profound Law Records as well. I would always start with them. Profound Law Records, such an amazing record company. We're just very, very proud and fortunate to be a part of that family. So, thank you to them, and thank you to all.
I'll be sure to have links at the end of this video as well to send people directly to purchase your fabulous product. Hamish, this has been a pleasure. Good to get some gaps filled in. I'm so excited to work my way backwards now and learn and discover more of the back catalog. But it's been a pleasure having you on Different Stages Radio.
Oh, JJ, thank you so very much. An absolute pleasure, sir. Thank you.
All the best on June the 6th. This is Different Stages Radio.